From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. James, how are you today? It's exciting to welcome back the guest that we have. So I'm looking forward to a great conversation.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this, Steve. Again, it's most likely another one where I can just sit back, let the expert speak, and no one has to listen to me again, which is great. I'm doing good, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Don't sell yourself short. You're my partner here, so I think that you also have a lot that you can include from the client perspective, and that's what we're going to be focused on today. And well, before we jump into it, I'd like to welcome back Patrick Gilligan. He was last on our previous episode, 232. So check out his background, some of the areas of focus and how he's inspired to contribute in the AV industry. But Patrick is the principal AV infrastructure engineer at Zillow. Welcome back, Patrick. Thanks for being with us.
Good to be back with you guys. Thank you.
And when we last spoke in our previous episode, last week's episode, we got to learn a little bit about what it's like to be on the client side, and we kind of ended the last episode with how you're able to dig in and do things that maybe others don't really get the opportunity to do. But I think that there's also a unique perspective that you get being in that seat, and you get to be able to help move the industry forward because you have the professional expertise, you have the experience of being on the service provider side as well. Can you share a little bit about what that has inspired in you, and maybe what are some of the things that you are able to contribute to the industry from your seat?
Yeah, I'll pick up something I said last episode that I personally was excited by the idea of going from system to system, and then finishing it up and training the clients and moving on to the next one. I really like the idea of like being really solely responsible for less systems, but in a kind of a deeper way. And if you take that as one element, and then you add the fact that we had to do a lot of building very quickly right after COVID, in that kind of confusing time as it was for everyone, especially people who have an office, those two things ended up creating an opportunity to develop a lot of workflows and techniques that I feel have been somewhat underrepresented in AV, but many of the techniques and ideas I'm borrowing are right there available for us in IT and software engineering. So, and so I feel like I am interested by, and I see an opportunity in this industry for what you could broadly describe as consultancy, like a more of a technical consultancy, but people who kind of sit in that layer in between the integrator, who can sell the equipment and can run the cabling through the wall and put the TVs up and work with the building and get power, so on and so forth. And then the end user who just needs to have a system that works. Zillow has chosen, I think rightfully so, to bring our kind of field engineering and programming in-house, but maybe other people could have a different kind of technical advisor in between, or maybe the integrators could take that role in maybe a different way. And I'll give you a quick example. When you have enterprise networks, yes, you can take the kind of a Cisco small business switch and put it in the room as its own kind of silo, or you can just fold in the equipment into the enterprise tech stack and treat every single AV endpoint as mission critical technical infrastructure, just like everything else, and have it on the same network, know what it is, know what it's doing, make sure it's reached securely. And when you get into AV over IP, you have the network engineering components, the multicast traffic, the IGMP queryers, and the quality of service. And what I see a lot is the manufacturers might have a few white papers on the handful of switches that they know, and they'll explain to you exactly how to configure that one switch. But there's a whole world of switches out there that can, in principle, be configured to work with AV, but the usually the integrator doesn't really want to touch it, and they don't have access to the the enterprise company's network infrastructure to really debug it. And then often the network team doesn't, while they're very good at their job, the whole world of putting AV packets right on the network is kind of a different beast that most people don't learn in whatever training it took them to become a network admin or network engineer over time. So you get this kind of like technical gap that can arise sometimes. That's kind of a ripe place for people to step in and provide advocacy.
Very, very interesting. And I think that there's I mean, James, if you want to share from your perspective, I think that what Patrick's describing sounds like a real need in the industry.
Oh, yes, it's definitely a real need. You know, people who know me know I'm pretty connected in the higher ed community, and these are conversations that are always going on where it's you either have a full in-house team, who does like, well, the example, where I used to work when I first started out, we did everything in-house. Our integrator partners were dropship. We would call them saying, hey, we need this product because, like Patrick, we couldn't buy directly from manufacturers. We had to go through um, partners. So that's all they were, a middle person. They dropped off. We did everything. Um, Once in a while, we'll, sub some things out here and there. Where I'm at now, we do majority of with our preferred partner integrator, and it's a great relationship there. So it's the advocate. It's having somebody there who is actually looking out for the business and the users, because nothing wrong with integrators, but like Patrick said, a lot of clients, a lot of customers, a lot of different systems. You're not going to remember them all. You're not going to be entwined with them. Going back to my original job where we had a project where I'm only getting the nuts and bolts of it. But we had a integrator doing the installation, but they were using my code. And I get a call from them. And they're like, "Hey, we have concerns with your code. Our programmer is a little confused. Can you help out? Answer some questions?" I'm like, "Sure." I jumped on the phone with them, and they're like, "Your code doesn't make sense. It doesn't do what we always do for all our higher ed clients." And I was like, "Okay, what's going on?" They're like, "Well, you have three sources. You have the in-room PC, you have the laptop, you have the document camera." Correct. "Well, your laptop and your doc cam, you have go to your local preview." I'm like, "Correct." "Well, we don't do that anywhere else. This makes no sense." I'm like, "I understand," but I go, "Our users flip out saying the system doesn't work when the doc cam and the laptop are not on the local preview." And their program is like, "But they can see it in front of them." I'm like, "I don't disagree with you there." I go, "We tried it. Our users freaked out saying the system is not working because it wasn't on the local preview." I was like, "This is how our users use the system." This programmer couldn't wrap around their head because all their other clients did something different. I had to be advocate of that. In my current job, when I took over this new building, I was really entwined with the integrator and saying, "Hey, no, this is what we got to do for our users. I don't care how you do it otherwise." Um, like Patrick brought up networking. Networking is a big topic for me as well because I wanted to be a network administrator when I went to school. That was where I was going to until I got dropped in AV, and I love it. Um, so mm, I sit there and hear people say, "Oh, our network team, they don't won't let AV on the network." And then it's like the integrator has no clue what they're doing. They were putting everything on islands. I was like, it's having that conversation. I can sit here and I can sit down and talk with my network administrator who has told me repeatedly I am the most needy person on the network, which I am, but we can have that conversation to reach the same goal. So our AV is kind of on the main network, a little different here, but Like it does have an AV network that are using Cisco switches, and that routers, the core AV network ties into the core data network. So everything is connected, but kind of segmenting it. Where I came back east, everything was on the core network. We had a great networking team. And again, I could have that conversation with them, being like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we need. And it wasn't like, oh no, you're not putting that on the network. It was like, all right, how can we achieve the goal? Where my goal as the AV person was to have equipment that is functional, the students can be educated. The network administrator goal was to have a functional network that's up and reliable so the students can learn. Both of us have the same goal, students to learn. Yeah, I'm spearheading this in higher ed here. Once we understood that we both have the same goal, it's like, how do we come together to get our products, our service that we're providing, me providing the AV services, them providing the network service, to meet the goals of the users. And I hear so many people who won't sit down and talk with their network administrators. They don't know how to talk to them, or vice versa. They do know how to talk to them, but their network administrators won't listen to them, won't have those conversations because they don't have that same goal. So yeah, you need someone who advocate for your users.
I appreciate all of that, and I think there's probably some more lessons to be learned too from being able to have the perspective that you guys both have. Patrick, do you want to share any other things that you think would uh, be of value to the industry, or where you think that there's other growth opportunities?
Yeah, sure. I'll pivot in a slightly different direction, away from network engineering. Cloud monitoring is very big, very important right now. I think that there's a lot of room for um, manufacturers to provide their data programmatically in the same way that they provide it over their web page or application that they've written. So you have a TV company and you want to now let everyone know you've come out with this big product that lets everyone monitor their TVs. Well, TVs might just be 3% of the entire tech stack that you're in charge of. So that would mean, if you do the math there, that's 33 Chrome tabs open at the same time to monitor the entire thing. What you might want to do is, because your team has already built the code to get that data, to have unified and standardized APIs that AV can all agree upon to add that data. Is it healthy? How long is it on? Is it healthy? How long has it been on? Most of these TVs, we all kind of just want the same thing. Is it working? And maybe is it on or off? Depending the use case. What input is it on could be nice too. Point is, if we as an industry can get together and get unified on our AV standards, then you'd have a space for these kind of third-party people to build the single panes of glass that most customers want, the unified place. There are companies like Excite, for example, who's been pushing on this, and I think there's some really cool people over there. And I've had a few meetings with them. So I think there's a lot of room in the cloud space. And again, cloud monitoring is, the software and network industries adjacent are just a tiny bit ahead. So we have a lot of kind of well demonstrated principles sitting right there before us. My next video that I'm going to do, I think, is about how I can ingest webhooks from the services that we use, bring them into a tool called Lambda in AWS, which I consider like the cloud Swiss Army knife, because it lets you write code right in the cloud with an API endpoint. You don't have to think about maintaining a server or getting any of that stood up. You just use AWS's pre-existing servers. The webhook sends it to Lambda, and then Lambda can send it over to Splunk, which will be in my video, as well as to Slack. And then if you're pretty savvy with your Slack engineering, you can have a Slack put a button that maybe mutes it back or changes the name of the device or whatever. So you can kind of use these tools to modern tools to sit right there and make, like I was saying in the first episode, make business problems go away, make things easier for users to make sure everything's healthy and make sure everyone can have a smooth, productive meeting or event.
So if we were a different kind of podcast, I would say Patrick would have to take a drink by now by using the word standards when it came to AV, because we don't have true standards, and everyone knows that's a big pet peeve of mine. I won't go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, what Patrick mentioned there is definitely great. Because manufacturers are hearing from us tech managers saying we want monitoring tools, but they don't understand what we are actually looking for. And like Patrick said, we're looking for a single pane of glass. It's not, I want 33 Chrome tabs up. Lori, one Chrome tab takes up enough memory. I don't need 33 eating up all of my RAM on my computer. People who know about Chrome taking up memory knows about that. So it's really, we need to be able to configure our monitoring tools to be able to talk to all our equipment, not just their tool that sees theirs. And I understand it's not the job of the manufacturer to develop that single pane of glass, but it is their job to make it easy that we can develop that single pane of glass, that somebody can take all this stuff. And I'll admit, to me, it almost sounds like they're trying to keep everyone in their garden. Well, if I had to build this monitoring tool and it's helpful for you, you're going to use it for X, Y, and Z. You're going to stay within our ecosystem instead of, venturing out and checking out other systems. Well, people are getting tired of that. We don't want to be tied down, you know. We are looking at other products because they play nice. I do understand the big thing with standard is, I heard it from a very well-known person here. I was at a panel where I was moderating. I asked him, okay, with AV or IP, why is there not a standard when IT has a standard? Like, if I'm using a Mac or I'm using a Dell, if I'm using HP, doesn't matter. I can still access the same web page. I can still access my emails. They use the standard. And, he brought up a good point of, if they develop a standard in AV or IP and you buy brand X and brand Y and they're not talking to each other, whose fault is it? And then he goes, it's the person who answers the phone. And he's like, my company always answers the phone, so therefore it's always my problem. And I was like, I understand that, but when I have a problem with Google Gmail and I'm on an HP and Steve's on a Mac and my emails aren't going, I'm not calling Google. And also, there are barely any issues with that. Their community, yeah, there will be issues, but because they go by those standards. So yeah, I wish there was a really standards in Navy. Little pet peeve of mine there, but great information there, Patrick.
I think as we wrap up this episode, what I'd like to touch on maybe is some either tips or ideas that you could share with some of the aspiring programmers that are looking to evolve their career, similar to what you've done, and I think be able to kind of justify their value. I think that would be really important because I think a lot of programmers work behind the scenes and they, some of them are very content doing what they do day to day and like, that predictable nature, but others are looking to build their career and evolve and let's hope stay in the AV industry.
Yeah, a couple things. This for me is more of a personal preference, but I did not get as into programming Crestron at the time because simple Windows and the idea of no-code tools in general. There's a code base living behind it, and the no-code tools I think are meant to and often do make things easy to understand for people. But for me, I like the just direct math. The truth of the the programming, in the same way that I like the truth of the command line for the network engineering or for the network switches. I don't like the web page as much. That might be personal preference. All that's to say is whether it's C# or Lua or Python or JavaScript, it if you can think of these things, if you can distill these principles, whether it's data structures or how to do math or how to sort, sorting algorithms, whatever it is, if you can think of these things in their basic forms and just kind of pay attention to general software engineering, then you'll have an easier time, or at least I did, bringing AV into that world versus going in the other direction. And so I think, it should be fun. If you're interested in how to write a script that turns that TV on the wall on and off, that you're probably interested in how to spin up a web page and bring CSS or HTML into it, how to make a button change its color, which you can all do in just a couple minutes, right on any computer that you have. So it's really good, I think, to think in terms of the basic principles. And I also think that in general, the idea of the AV programmer, there's space there to really evolve that idea and principle into the kind of the software engineer. And if you start to think about all the cloud tooling that exists, all the things that you want, the AV interfaces, often I think are overrepresented in let's say a conference room, where you really are trying to do 90% of the same stuff every time, and you want the interface to kind of really just be exposing that 10% of extra use cases to make sure that the user can do everything that they want. But if they're pressing the same 4 buttons every day, then it might make sense to automate that into 1 button, and then you add 4 buttons for the thing that they might be pressing once a month, for example. So I think if you bring in the wider principles of software and network engineering into AV programming and really distill these things down to their basics, I think you'll have an easier and quicker time programming, and I think you'll create more value for yourself as your career is developing.
And the other thing I want to touch on too is show and share with people that you're doing it, because that's similar to what you're doing, because that's how you'll get recognized, and you'll start to build that engagement.
Yeah, some of the best advice that was ever given. I do a little bit of side business, side work. It's all around the kind of programming space, AV space, and I love the fact that I have that. I feel like it can keep me sharp and keep me updated on what other people want out of AV, not just my primary employer, and a lot of that's just become of my general kind of advocacy for the industry. So it's been super helpful for me. I can't recommend it enough. And I learned so much by being able to take something that I do, break it down to its teachable principles, and then start to teach it. Most of my videos online are something I just take an application or a workflow that I wrote at work, which really was I just did to solve a business problem. I wasn't trying to show off or be fancy. It's just, I found myself doing this every day. I found a problem. X was breaking and I didn't know it was breaking, or something wasn't breaking. I was getting too many notifications that it was broken when it wasn't. For example, 2 sides of the same coin. I write something that kind of solves that business problem, and then I rewrite it again off of my work computer on my personal computer, but this time I'm recording it. And then I cut it down, maybe 2 hours of recording, into like a 10-minute snippet. It's almost like TikTok style. It fast forwards at 8x through all the code. I'm really just talking over it. I always put it in a GitHub repo. You can really get into it there, but the video is not really meant to as a tutorial like that. It's just showing you what you can do. And when I take something I've already written, turn it into a video like that, I learned so much more about the basic principles myself that if nobody watched the video, it'd still be an enormous help for myself and my careers.
That's really awesome. We're going to put a link to Patrick's sites as well, and this way you can check them out if you go to our show notes. probably a good place for us to wrap this one up, but plenty more to talk about. And we certainly would welcome you back and hope that you'll want to come back and share some more of your insight. But really great 2 episodes and great conversations we've had. How can people get in touch with you, Patrick, learn more about what you do, either in your primary role or what you do personally, and also get in touch with you to connect and engage?
Yeah, I'd say reach out to me on LinkedIn if you work in the AV industry and you type in Patrick Gilligan, you're almost certainly gonna through. It's not really a big industry, so there's almost gonna be a few degrees of separation to connect us. And then my anytime I make a new video, which they take a lot of work, so I'm always wishing I had a better cadence with those. But it's youtube.com/PatrickGill_dev. And anytime I make a new video, I publish it to LinkedIn. So those are the 2 main areas. You can reach out to me on any of those, or you can find my GitHub, which is Patrick Gill SF. Oh, I should also mention you can find me on the QSys communities often. You can send me a DM there at the same handle. So
Fantastic. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for your great insight, and I'm sure our audience will get a lot of value out of what you've shared with us,
yeah,
and
thank you so much.
that we have as well. James, how can people get in touch with you, learn more about what you're doing, and any parting words that you wanted to share?
Again, thank you, Patrick. This was a great episode. If you're looking to get a hold of me, Google me, you'll find me. I'm on the LinkedIn community as the programmer. AV, AV _ James King on the socials. Again, Google me, you'll find me.
And for me, you can reach me at Steve Greenblatt on most social platforms. You can also connect with my company, Control Concepts, who's a supporter of this podcast. And we help programmers by creating some of the building blocks that are needed to do integration with either products or add functionality. And you can find all of that at controlconcepts.net. As we've talked about in the past, we have 2 different formats of this podcast: the video version on YouTube and the audio version in your favorite podcast player. Check out either or both, and leave us a message, a rating, review. We'd like to hear from you, and we'd also like to engage and have more guests and be able to showcase the work and the history of some of the programmers who are out there. So, as James mentioned, we have a community that we have established on LinkedIn as a group called Ask the Programmer. So join us there as well, and we'll be posting about these episodes and hopefully be able to continue the conversation and welcome our guests to join us as well. And we also want to make sure that we're serving this community properly. So please reach out to us in any of the ways that you have heard us mention. So thank you for listening and watching. Until next time, this has been Ask the Programmer.